What's going on, guys? Scar coming at you with another Magic the Gathering video. In today's video, we're gonna be diving into some new starter decks. I got introduced with the new update that happened this past Thursday. It has taken me a few days to probably come up with these new updates on these starter decks, but in today's video, we're gonna be focused on just one of them, just because I feel like I want to do some gameplay, kind of show where I've made changes, kind of break down everything. Go from there, just kind of go the whole rundown of everything. As you kind of see me here, there's actually a whole bunch of the changes. I'm actually still working on the white deck. I haven't fully play tested it, so I'm still making some tweaks. I don't think it's complete down at the bottom, like all the way there. I think I kind of like, I'm trying to think of like what cards to add, so that one's actually not complete. But currently we're gonna actually do the large and in charge one, which I'm kind of currently blocking, but the upgraded version is kind of sitting right there. So we're gonna dive into the deck. We're gonna go into the basic starter, kind of talk about what the deck is trying to do in case you're still kind of figuring out like all the new starters, and then we'll go from there. We'll then go into my upgraded version of the deck, talk about what I dropped to replace with other things. A lot of these decks I actually kind of gutted a lot of them, but I kind of kept the core concept of where I thought the deck was gonna, what the deck was all about, to kind of give like an idea of where I would go to maybe make it a little bit more competitive. I actually been having a ton of fun with actually the green one, just because of what the deck is trying to do, and I kind of put my own spin on it, kind of bringing it a little bit more in line where you kind of see some of the mono green decks currently in standard, but in like the more rotation proof kind of style. So that's enough of that being said, guys. If you like the video, hit the like button. If you want to know when I post more videos, hit that subscribe button. But let's dive into the mono green deck and talk about it. Alright, so we're looking at the large and in charge starter deck. This is the new mono color starter deck that just came out with the new update with Amonkhet being remastered. This is kind of like the new idea for these starters, that these cards that are in these decks are kind of like go forward in the current landscape when it comes to starters, in the sense that these cards are just going to be like ever good. If you ever played like Hearthstone, for example, like the base set, for example, minus maybe a few things that they may have like adjusted over time, but the base set of like Hearthstone is like playable throughout the game since I think its inception. I'm not really sure if they've actually given it a refresh. It's been a minute since I've actually probably played Hearthstone, but this is kind of like their idea. So like if you notice, all the cards in the starter decks have all these A's that just to symbolize that they're like arena like starter cards, but the overall idea of this deck is to kind of play big things and hopefully get to the big drops and do a lot of damage. The goal, like there's some minor like ramp cards. We're not playing super duper ramp in this sense, whereas I think my idea is let's try to get these bigger cards quicker. We got some big things like this Gigantosaurus, which is definitely very cool. It's a 10/10 for 5 mana, definitely something your opponent has to figure out how to deal with. But overall, the idea of the deck is to just kind of like, you know, play like an Iliad, and then kind of like on turn 2, on turn 3 play another land. By turn 4 you can play it, by turn 3 you can play a 4-drop, trying to get like something that's a 4/4, like a Wild Patrol, or maybe a Rumbling Baloth. Because then when that happens, this now produces 2 additional mana of that color instead, so that's definitely good, and so on and so forth. And the idea is like you're trying to get to this stuff here, like the top end of the deck, just because it is kind of like what is trying to make the deck win. I'm actually not sure on this World Shaper, just in the basis of we're not really trying to mill, but the idea of milling and putting more lands on the battlefield is like, I guess, this another way of making this deck ramp. The other cool card that I think is definitely really good is, I think it's the Colossal Majesty. At the beginning of our upkeep, if we control a creature power 4 or greater, we get to draw a card. So it's a continual upkeep thing. So in the later, like by turn 3 we could play this, and then by turn 4 if we have a 4-drop out on the battlefield or earlier, we'll draw an additional card, which is definitely good because our top end of our deck does have a lot of big things, and we have things to make our things much bigger, like this one for example. But all in all, the deck is like very like basic in what it's trying to do, and what I try to do is try to figure out how to go about making this deck into a better overall deck that I think just feels a little bit better and just does a lot of things, I think, in a more effective kind of way. I didn't go like, you know, just gut the whole thing completely and start off. There's some cards that are remaining from the base deck, but I didn't really keep a lot of things, to be quite honest. I just did a couple things I just think are overall better. I'm not really sure off the top of my head how many rares and mythics that there are in the deck, but a lot of the stuff is kind of things you may already have collected through like, you know, playing Ikoria and Thrones and all that stuff. So a lot of the stuff is cards that you may have already acquired or may have already built with other things. So if not, like, I will put somewhere either in description or in the Aether Hub link for this deck, I'll put like, you know, what cards you can use to replace what. I kind of actually broke down, because like I said, I went through each like mana cost, and I was like, what's a good card that could kind of like exchange out for this, and I kind of figured out if it was a good card or not. So With that being said, let's look at the upgraded version, then I'll kind of break it down. All right, so first thing you probably notice is that actually the deck is more refined in the sense that it actually doesn't scroll down as far as the other one did, as the other one doesn't play a lot of copies of things. So this one here is pretty much where I think is a good starting point, if anything, to kind of go off of. I did add a few cool little flavor things that I think are overall good. There's a couple things I'm like thinking about from when I played that you could always add in that could also make it better, but I think this is a good starting point in that sense, just in the basis of what this deck's trying to do. So I did keep the 4 Isn't Caryatid, the tree thing that makes additional mana if we have power 4 or greater, just because a lot of things in our deck are very top end. We actually aren't playing any single 1-drop, so that's the only thing that so it doesn't really have a good turn 1 play, but if you can get to turn 2, turn 3, and actually have a decent ramp, you can actually get to your top end very quickly. I have played some of our 4-drops on turn 3, and that kind of puts our opponent in definitely a weird position, because if they have a Quest and Beast that's a 4/4 attacking them on turn 3, they may not be able to deal with it. Then I have the Nissian Horn Beetle. Just like I said, a lot of our top end, even our 3-drops, are actually for power creatures, so this getting +1/+1 counters just makes it just that much better. A lot can be said that you could play that Hydra that came from M21 that is a X and X, or green and an X, and every time there's a +1/+1 counter. I just didn't think we have enough +1/+1 counter effects to really make that card amazing. It's really just the Nissian Horn Beetle that gets just a +1/+1 counter for each creature. It gets a +1/+1 counter for if we have a power 4-drop or greater. I replaced the fight spell with the ram through. I just think overall this is a better spell. I do have a way to give all our creatures trample, so whatever you target with this will have trample, and then the excess damage will go over to that creature's controller instead. So I thought this was a better way. It's also instant speed, so you can kind of do a response, or you can do it as a, you know, if they try to kill off one of your creatures, you can always throw the damage some way. And also with a Quest and Beast, you can actually throw a Quest and Beast damage into something that's bigger than a Quest and Beast and actually kill it, because the Quest and Beast does death touch damage with this spell, so you can actually have it kill the creature because of the death touch. Then I got the Wolf Walls Haven, which is I think still in the starter deck. I actually thought this was a pretty decent turn 2 also ramp spell, just because it has a way of making our mana produce additional green. And later in the game, if we don't really need the mana, we can always sacrifice 5, get a 2/2 green wolf token, just to kind of get a little bit wider in case maybe something happens, like a board wipe or something like that. So I thought this was a pretty decent one. Because we have this and we have the Wolf Wallows, I thought our ramp only need to be like 6 or so, just because I feel like there's a pretty decent chance of drawing it. Next card up is the Garruk's Harbinger. I think this is an overall very solid card from M21 that I didn't think saw a lot of play like before the bans from M21, but I think overall in the current meta, I think this is definitely gonna be a pretty solid drop. I don't really know where black's gonna fall, but having this have protection from black is always good. So they can't target with a black spell or do anything like that. And it's a 4/3, which is definitely solid for 3 mana. And then whenever it deals damage to a player or planeswalker, you get to look at that many cards on the top of our library, reveal a creature card or Garruk planeswalker card among them, put into our hand, put the rest in the bottom of our library in random order. So this allows us to kind of draw a little bit deeper into our deck, get more creatures to kind of keep on hitting them in the face. Another card I added in that's also from M21, I kind of replaced the other thing from the Reno starter deck, because I think this one overall is better in my personal opinion, just because it has a little bit more of what it does. When Garruk's Uprising enters the battlefield, if we control a creature power 4 or greater, we get to draw a card, so we get an initial draw on when this comes into the battlefield. Creatures we control now have trample, so that makes all our creatures have trample as long as it's on the battlefield. And whenever a creature of power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under our control, we get to draw a card. So we get multiple draw triggers if we play it after we have a 4-drop, as well as just giving our creatures across the board trample. I think is definitely very good, because then the ram through does a little bit more, just because the excess damage now goes through and goes into the opponent's face, which is always good. And just giving like a big swing with the trample is definitely like a very like in your face kind of thing, because then they can't really chump block your bigger things. Like a Quest and Beast now, if they put a 3/3 or 3/1 in front of it or whatever, now it's actually going to do, you know, the 1 extra damage over. So that's definitely good. Then we get the Garruk's Unleashed, which is a 4 mana planeswalker. I think this one's actually pretty good as well, because, you know, it gives target creature +3/+3, gains trampled in a turn. We can -2, get a 3/3 green beast token. And then if your opponent controls more creatures then we get to put a loyalty count on Garruk's Unleashed, so that's definitely cool in that sense. And if we ever get to the -7, we can -7 and get the emblem, and on the end of our end step, when we search our library for a creature card, put onto the battlefield and shuffle our library. That's not what we're trying to go for, but the idea of giving something +3/+3 and trample is always good. Like put a +3/+3 counter on Quest and Beast, swinging for 7, then maybe play ram through and do, like, if we hit one of their creatures, then we do additional damage. Stuff like that is definitely good in that sense. Then we had the Nail Keen-Eyed. I thought it was pretty interesting. I just wanted to play this because I don't think it gets a lot of love. This is something that you don't have to have in the deck, but it's an indestructible 5/6. If our devotion is less than 5, it's not a creature. Creature spells we cost 1 less to cast, so making our things cheaper is always good, I think. And then we can tap 3 and be able to top of our library. If it's a creature card, we can put it in our hand. Otherwise, maybe put it in the graveyard. So we can decide if we like it or not. We can throw it in the graveyard, or we can put it into our hand if it's a creature card. So definitely good. Making our top end stuff cheaper is always good as well. Then we got 4 copies of Quest and Beast, just because still this card's gonna be a problem in the meta. I think you're gonna see it a lot in green decks that can splash it. It can't be blocked by creatures power 2 or less. Combat damage would up by creatures you control can't be prevented. And whenever Quest and Beast deals damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to target planeswalker that player controls. I thought that overall was a good, just overall good, solid mythic that, you know, it's gonna do things. Following that up with the Elder Gargoyle, I thought this is another interesting kind of like top end creature that I see in the current meta that a lot of like your more aggro aggressive decks can't really deal with. It's a 5-mana 6/6. It has Vigilance, Trample, and Reach. And whenever it attacks and or blocks, choose one. We get to get a 3/3 green beast token. We get to gain 3 life, or we can draw a card. I think this is a very solid play just in the later game as you're trying to like take over the board with big things. Definitely something that your opponent can't burn down. They have to directly like bounce it and or destroy it with a spell. So this is definitely something that's going to be a little bit trickier for some of our opponents that we may play. Then to follow it up, I thought Kogla was actually another very interesting card here. I think the idea of having a creature that has a fight ability when it comes into battlefield's really good, and whenever it attacks, it gets to destroy target artifact or enchantment defendant player controls. And the 2 mana thing we're probably not going to use because I don't think we have any humans. We can give it indestructible at the end of turn, but the idea that it fights things when it comes to the battlefield, I thought was a pretty good like explosive thing to play on turn 6. So that's one of those things. Then we got the Rampage and Brontodon. It's a 7-mana trampler that whenever it attacks, it gets +1/+1 to end turn. For each land we control. If we have it on turn 6, it's a 13/13 with trample, so that's definitely good. Pretty cool in the sense that it just keeps on getting bigger and bigger. I mean, when it's not attacking, it's still 7/7. So overall, it's a pretty interesting card. I thought it was kind of a cool thing, so I decided to keep it from the starter deck. It's definitely a very high-end top-end creature. It makes definitely Ugins very awkward because they would have to -7 to get rid of it if they do play an Ugin and we already have this out. So I thought overall that's definitely a good card to have in our deck. Then to follow that up, I have the Great Henge, just because a lot of things are big and beefy. This Great Henge will definitely be very cheap to play in the later game. If we have a Quest and Beast or even a Garruk's Unleashed or a Garruk's Harbinger, we can make this thing cost cheaper. If we have a Garruk's Unleashed out, we can make a creature a 7/7, make this thing only cost 2 mana, and then get it for cheaper, and then start drawing cards every time we play a creature. Also put +1/+1 counters on those creatures. So we play something like a Kogla. Now it's a 8/7, or yeah, 8/7, so it deals a little bit more damage. Definitely doing things like that. Overall, very good card just to kind of keep our engine going, to keep the deck drawn in the later game. And also every time we tap it for mana, gain 2 life. Even if we don't spend the mana, we can still gain 2 life, which is very good. And then the final thing I added, I kind of subtracted some forest, added some Castle Garenbrigs, just because if we can kind of ramp up by turn 3, we can actually tap this down. Our turn 4, we can actually tap this down at 6 mana, so we can actually get to our top end that much sooner, which is very good. And I kind of added 3 because I think 4 is probably overdoing it, just because we do have a lot of creatures, but we don't have that many creatures. And we have a couple non-creature spells in the deck that I feel like, you know, this ability is not the best, but, you know, 3 is enough to probably draw into it. So enough of that being said, let's dive into some games, kind of see how this deck does. We'll talk about it afterwards. The one thing I will say before we dive in, hopefully I don't play a lot of Cyclone. That's what I actually was running into a lot. Cyclone, I think, is still going to be one of those decks. I probably will be doing a video about it, talking about it, if you don't know what the Cyclone deck is. So stay tuned, and let's jump into some games. All right, so we're on the play. I actually think this hand's pretty good. I'm also in the 2021 Magic playlist, just because I think overall it's a little bit more in the interesting way, just because I feel like there's not really a true meta currently. So we're gonna play this deck in that, just as a FYI. You can also play it in the current meta, but I'm not sure how it will do compared to the other mono green decks, because we're not playing anything from M20, War of the Spark, Ravnica, all that stuff. So we're playing like tap lanes and stuff. It looks like our opponent is possibly on an upgraded version of maybe the mono white deck, or they decided to they just had their mono white lands. Alright, so we're gonna be in a little bit of trouble just because Daxos is always a pain in the butt. So we'll play this. This allow us to play. You're on priority, dude. You have the sacrifice ability. It's just asking you if you want to sacrifice. We can play a Garrick on turn. Alright, that's fine. No blocks. Take a little bit of damage here. Do this. We will play a beastie.
Respect for nature is always returned.
I actually will, if they decide to attack in with Daxos and the Selfless Savior, I probably will block into the. Probably block into that. Do I block it? Do I want to save it is the question. They could always give it protection, but I'm not gonna block. I'll let Garrick die. It could be my downfall there, but I think it's okay. A lot of mana. Definitely have a lot of mana. We're short of the Kogla. We'll play this. I think I'm actually going to shoot this if they want to stop it. They can sacrifice it in response. But I'm pretty much making them sacrifice it now. Fizzles out, it's fine. I'd rather have them sacrifice it. No attacks and say go. Next turn we can play the Kogla, which I think is a good play. They're gonna probably put the +1/+1 counter on Daxos, I would assume.
Still guide me.
This is actually very good because this can fight and destroy a target enchantment. Oh, that's fine.
Sand will protect you.
Interesting. Yeah, we'll play this just because this just gets better. I'll make you sacrifice your dog if you want to. Because that also makes that much weaker. Has indestructible, so I'm not going to attack in, so we'll say go. These now have trample, so that's always good. They're drawing because they're not drawing mana. That's perfectly fine.
I will guard your
Interesting.
advance.
Garrick's actually very, very good here because we can do something like this.
I hope you're ready to fight for your life. There is a stampede of one.
And then watch as their Garrick now dies. Or their Garrick, their Gilead dies. Or Daxos, whatever. Enchantment thing. This is where they probably scoop. Or not. And then we'll play this. And then we'll play a land, and we'll say go. And this is where our deck kind of turns on once we kind of get to this point. Alright, they Banish and Light the Kogla, which is okay, I guess. Great Henge is good. So we'll play Great Henge. I play this, right? Play a land, play the Great Henge. We'll play this. Oh my goodness. All the things. We'll put it on this bad boy. We'll swing in.
Under our might.
Our opponent's definitely feeling the hurt right now. Yeah, we'll take a Questing Beast, because that can attack immediately next turn. I think this is GG's for our opponent. They got mana screwed, and we were able to... They may have a board wipe. But they're staying in this, which I'm very surprised. I think we swing way too hard over the top though, because this then becomes 7. Yeah, that becomes a 14-14. Pump up one of these. Pump up one of these from Garrick. Yeah, this definitely becomes a lot of damage because that's +3/+3. This becomes a 7-6. So 14, 21, 24, plus another 4 from Questing Beast. Swinging into a 4-5 and a 1-1. Yeah, that's definitely gonna leave a mark. All right, so on the play, I actually like this hand. This hand's very good as well. We have a lot of upside, so if we can kind of keep that there, I think we're good. And if we're on the play, we can definitely get this stuff out sooner. Depending on what our opponent's playing. If they play red, we'll probably play with follow just because that may or may not be there. Okay, that's not the worst. Yeah, I think we do this, but we need to draw land. Land to be really good here. Are they also on the starter deck? No, they have Ikoria lands, but they may be playing the multicolor. I've noticed that unless some people have swapped their lands out. They're analyzing our hand. I think our hand's overall very good. I guess if they go for the Haven, I mean, that would slow us down, but... Alright, that's fine. Thank you. I appreciate that. Our opponents say nice. So, they kind of already know what's coming. They're playing red. They may kill our mana producer because next turn we could technically, in theory, play. Wait, we have 4 mana, right? 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's fine. All right, we got a mana. But we'll do this. Yeah, we'll attack in. Since this wasn't gonna do anything that turn, might as well get a use out of it. Other creature gets -1/-1. That's fine. I'm very surprised they didn't block there. I guess they just want to leave a -1/-1/-1. Alright, so they're playing like some sort of dead weighty kind of thing. Yeah, we'll play this though. It's still a threat. They can't attack in because then they'll have to attack into that. If I get a Kogla here, I could fight that and then get that off. That's only a 2/2. With Lifelink and Death Touch. Interesting. It's a 2/2, so the -1/-1. We'll start getting +1/+1 counters. Yeah, we're not gonna attack though. So I was gonna put Menace on it just because then I would have to block with 2 creatures. Like Menace and Death Touch would have been smart because then they would have had to block. That's fair. I thought this deck would probably make an appearance. Interesting. They want to do anything about it. That's fine. No text. That's 4 mana. They have cards in hand. That's 2. That is Lifelink Death Touch. I think we get rid of this though. Make everything stronger again. We can ping something. Interesting. probably shouldn't let me declare attack step. Which one do I want? This one or that one? Yeah. I could have also taken this out, thinking about it. That's probably a misplay by me. Though I will say I'm impressed by what we drew. Alright. Are they gonna start attacking in? Alright, let's get something good. Get me something good. Problem is I can't give it haste. Oh man, they played dead weight. Or they could just ping here. Get back dead weight. Yeah, I'll attack. Why not? I pretty much am out of luck right now. Yeah, let's get out of here. Yeah, this is gonna a deck like Mardu. There's a Mardu thing that's very good that I think will probably carry over. That I think. All right, we're on the play. I like this hand because we can play Quest and Beast on turn 3, so I'm good with that. All right, let's meet this guy. I honestly can't stand the electric dog. Just that noise it makes. I feel like people just troll when they play the electric dog. Also, turn 3 Quest and Beast, turn 4 Garrick. Oh, spicy. What do we got? Teamer Adventures. Never heard of that deck before. It's very good, I heard. Alright, the hope is that they don't have anything too crazy here. They have 3 mana. They haven't really played anything though. We can Borrower here. Excuse me. Which I think they messed up. They should have borrowed on my combat. Just on the basis of I can just play Quest and Beast now. And then hit him again in the face. Like they should have waited until I went ahead and attacks. I guess they wanted me to stall a turn. I need 1 more mana. If I get 1 more mana, that's fine. I feel like they are... Alright, there we go. Get some 1/1s. 1/1s in the house. I think we play this, because this will definitely... This will definitely ramp us up a little bit better. Next time we can play Kogla if they don't do anything about our Caryatid. Kogla then can attack their Quest and Beast. Garrick's Uprising will probably come in soon. We're just not there yet. Well, tap 4 mana. Alright. They have all the Brazen Borrowers, all the shenanigans. Is that the play I would have done? I feel like they should have done that slightly differently. I mean, I'll just make the same play again. I missed the land drop, which kind of sucks. They're just slowing us down, but I guess they didn't have a second target. No blocks. Because I'm gonna assume you're gonna play one of the many creatures in your hand that are sitting right there. You know, they didn't draw the Innkeeper though. That could be bad for them. Because we'll play Kogla, right? We'll kill that. Then we'll play another one of these. And then actually next time we could always play Garrick. They're analyzing. They're analyzing. Hold on. All right, we're on the play. Yet again, I think this is a very solid hand. It's not the best. We don't have really any top end, but having 3 mana, having a little bit of ramp, and having a ramp through for anything is always good. And then possibly maybe being at the amount of devotion by that turn, maybe we'll draw into something better. Are we also on Team Elementals again? Interesting. I mean, Team Elementals is a very solid deck overall, just on what it's trying to do. This hand may not be as good though, just on the basis of possibly what our opponent's playing. They haven't really played anything though. They're playing Clovers. Oh, that's a card. I forgot this makes creatures cost cheaper. So yeah, they may start losing lucky Clovers unless they have something to stop the Kogla. I mean, they probably do. They don't. I don't trust them. Interesting. We'll destroy one of those. So they're gonna trigger this twice. The ability to... Why can't I ram through? Oh, because I have nothing to target. That's the effect's on the table though, unfortunately. So I'm gonna activate this though, and we're gonna get a creature. Library. I'll keep another land. The land's good, but that's still gonna trigger the destruction of that. So that is a thing. They did lose one of those. All right, they're searching for possibly a spell to end everything. Let's see what they get here. They get, sure. Awesome. Well, what I could do is I can play this. I mean, the order doesn't really matter here, because I mean, I can just put on the land I'm not gonna play this on, and see if what they do here. I could make them just waste a turn, killing these if they really want to. Okay. That's perfectly fine. They only have one spell that's... They could discard 2 cards from their hand now. But now they also given me possible target. I can now make them fight. If they want to bounce it, they can. But then they don't have 2 targets for their Brazen Borrower, so it fizzles. The second one, the first effect fizzles, and then that goes in the graveyard. That's the only... You should have gotten the Wolfwall's Haven. They messed up there. They like their top card. Ow. Borrower. Alright, just random things for me to target, I guess. Right? How much mana is that? You have 6, 8? We'll fight here. Yeah, it's fine. We'll do damage there. Because that can't block, so they really just gotta, you know, they want to break the board, that's fine. They gotta do what they gotta do. That's their whole hand. And that's what they have here. Awesome. We'll get as much devotion as possible. We'll create a 3/3 beast.
My pack's always growing.
I would have not done that. Because you just reset the loyalty counters. I would have bounced that back. Yeah. Oh, I'm still gonna have more loyalty counters. Right? This goes up.
I like animals better than people.
Yeah, priority, dude. Play your spell. I feel... Sure. Draw your card. I feel like the sequencing is a little weird here. I think that's the right way. Sure. Alright. I'll attack, because, yeah, reasons. Damage. Let's draw a creature card. Questing Beast, that's a keeper. And we'll end turn. A 3-mana Questing Beast is pretty good. That's fine. They have 3 mana open, so they can play some things. Innkeepers are okay. What is this? It's a land. All right. All right, so in closing, overall, looking at this deck, I think this deck overall has a pretty good top end to it. If we can get to that kind of like groove where we're starting to just draw into good things, you can kind of see how the deck performs. I mean, I think, like I said, that deck that we played against, like the Death Touch deck, I kind of made a misplay with the Ram through. I probably should have picked off their Porky Parrot, but nonetheless, this deck does have a lot of promise. Like I said, it is a very big upgrade from the starter deck, but I think this is kind of like the same feel. We're just trying to get into our big end game stuff, and I think you could probably think about which kind of like ramp spells you want to get into. Maybe you want to put in some cultivates instead of maybe the Wolfwallow's Havens. It's up to you. I like the Wolfwallows just because, you know, it puts lands, makes the lands produce additional mana. I don't really know, but let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I also will let you also post, when I post this onto AetherHub, in that link, the paths on what I thought like to take out to put in for. So if you want to progress slowly into this version of the deck, I'll have that all in that article as well as I post that up onto AetherHub. But guys, if you like this video, hit that like button. It definitely helps the channel out a lot. If you want to know when I post more videos, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.